Welcome back to Halftime Habaneros. You're with your host, Justin Henry, and my guy, M-Bone HD, also known Matt.
What are your thoughts
Yeah,
right now on kind of what's going on in the NBA? Obviously, you're out in Sacramento. I don't know if you want to talk about this yet,
yeah,
but I know you're not a
yeah. There's a
Kings
lot going
fan,
on out
but
here,
there's
bro.
got to be so much
There's
excitement.
There's a lot of stuff going on in the NBA, man. 2 games tonight. We're talking Bucks and Celtics, like you mentioned. That's an Eastern Conference, Eastern Conference championship playoff potential matchup right there. I could barely get that out. And then, yes, the Sacramento Kings obviously is the big news from last night. They clinch a spot in the Western Conference. The Denver Nuggets play the New Orleans Pelicans tonight. That could be a potential 1-8 seed if things work out a certain way. But before we get into all the games, before we get into talking a little bit more about hoop, we talk about the Kings in general. Make sure y'all subscribe, hit the like button for us, and then make sure you guys download the Champions Round app. Get on the Daily Dozen with us. The Spicy Slips Baseball's opening day is here. We got a lot on the app, man, a lot of ways to play. But our first matchup, Matt, you talked about it. This is one of the premier matchups of the season right now, yo. We're talking about the Celtics and the Bucks in Milwaukee. Both of these teams are playing a lot better as of late. The Celtics specifically, winners of 7 out of their last 10 games. They're getting healthy now. Rob Williams is back. Some of the guys that were out are starting to come back in. This Bucks team has won 5 out of their last 6 games. So both of these teams ready to go into the postseason, rolling it hot. The Bucks are starting to separate themselves from that number 1 spot. Which one of these teams do you think, Matt, the Celtics and the Bucks, has the playoff finals run in them? Like, they both are good, but which one has the finals run in them?
I can go both ways with this answer because my preseason NBA Finals matchup was the Bucks versus the Warriors.
Yeah.
But I think Tatum it's a little bit of a revenge season for Tatum, and I think he's definitely going to be out to prove a point, especially come playoff time. I do think I have to lean Milwaukee, especially like you said, if we see this in the Eastern Conference Finals. I just would trust and I believe more in Giannis and his ability to just take over a game and dominate a game, just like he did against the Suns in the finals when he had 51 points.
Yeah.
I think I have to lean Milwaukee here, but we would be in for an absolute treat if we got this for an Eastern Conference Finals.
If this is the Eastern Conference Finals, this would be amazing, my man. And these two teams, man, they're both deep. They both have the star potential, the star power of the matchup. So that's not really an issue. What I think this comes down to is, like, last year, the Bucks were without one of their main guys, Chris Middleton. Yeah. And we've actually seen Drew Holiday really increase his level of play. He dropped a 50 burger last night, had 51 points in the game last night. So when I talk about this Bucks team, it's like they got more vets. They got deeper, they got healthier, and we've seen this team win a championship. Yeah. We haven't seen the Celtics team go win the championship yet. I think they want it. The taste of it is there. They've been in the finals and haven't secured it. It's almost there for them. But I'm not sure this Celtics team is ready quite yet to overtake the Bucks. If they match up in a 7-game series, I go Bucks strictly off the strength of more so the depth than like the individual matchup of Giannis and Tatum.
So March 30th, right? 2023. 7-game series. What is your prediction for that matchup? Are you saying Bucks in 6, Bucks in 7? What are you leaning here?
I think this series goes the whole way. 7 games. Okay, this is a 7-game series, no matter what. These two teams are so good. It's a 7-game series. And I think when we get to the Bucks, it's the fact that they have the home court advantage. Exactly, I think that's the determining factor. I think both of them could go win a game on the road. It's not like neither of these teams could win a game on the road. Celtics have been ice cold at home, and so have the Bucks. They win games at home. But when I look at this team, I look at this Bucks team and the mission that they're on this year. They're the best record in the league. They're the best team in the league right now. I'm taking the Bucks and Giannis. And I think Giannis might have a little bit of a slight to him right now because he's not in that MVP conversation like Jokic is and Embiid. Yep. What do you think, Matt? What side you on?
I'm going to go Bucks. And like you said, I just don't think maybe it's because all these teams out in the West made
Bucks and how many, though? Bucks and how many is
I'm going to go
question.
Bucks in 6. I'm
Okay.
going Bucks in 6. I just don't think, like you said, no one's talking about Milwaukee. Like got the best record. It's not even like what I think they're 3 games up on Boston.
Dude, shit's crazy to me. Like nobody's talking about it.
Nobody's talking about it. Everyone's, obviously everyone's talking about the Mavericks. Everyone's talking about the Suns, KD returning. Like, there's all this talk out west. And I feel like Milwaukee pretty quietly has put together a really, really good season. I think they're in a prime position to win the NBA Finals potentially.
Now, we obviously are going to get to the Western Conference here in a second, but who's the one team in the West you think that Milwaukee doesn't want to see? Like, obviously, Milwaukee beat the Suns a couple years ago. That was without KD. The Golden State Warriors came in to beat the Celtics, so we know that they can win a championship. Who do you think's the one team the Bucks absolutely do not want to see, if there is one?
I don't know. Part of me kind of wants to say now. I feel like my answer's changed. I was going to say the Clippers, but Paul George is hurt.
Yeah, and he might be out the whole first round too.
And that's huge. Like, I think, I look back at my main thought is who can guard Giannis, right? Like, who has a matchup for Giannis? And that's like, we saw Kawhi. I think Kawhi is I was watching a game a couple weeks ago, and it just shows like the difference between regular season and postseason basketball. And the Bucks were playing the Clippers, and I think like Giannis was going off, and they were putting Zubac on him, and it just was not working. Giannis had 40 points, and the final 2 minutes they finally put Kawhi. Like Kawhi finally says, "Okay, I'm taking him," and there was 2 straight possessions where he shut down Giannis. And I think obviously I like the Warriors just because of their experience. I think, like we said, where's Wiggins going to be at? Like the health of this team, but when they have all the pieces together, I think the Warriors are one of the best teams in all of the NBA. But I think I'm going to say, if we have a healthy Paul George, I think Kawhi and Paul George and the shooters around them, they have a lot of depth as well. I think they could go toe to toe with the Bucks. I don't know. I think they're a bad matchup, man. I think they're a bad matchup for anyone.
They're kind of sneaky too. Like when Paul George is healthy, they're kind of a sneaky matchup because we've seen them work their way through the season. Like injuries have been part of the play there. But they're getting healthy outside of Paul George. They're starting to get healthy. They made some deals at the deadline. Kawhi is back. It looks like he's playing at his normal level. So if Paul George can get back, if they can get out of the first round matchup, which they probably have a tough matchup. I think right now it's against the Golden State Warriors.
Oh my God.
Or no, it's against Phoenix. It's against Phoenix right now. If things stood as is, it's against Phoenix, which is very tough.
That's insane. That's a first round matchup in the West. Like
the West is insane, bro. Like, how crazy is the West that you could literally pick any team, even some of the playing teams right now, and say, oh, I think they're going to win the NBA championship.
Exactly.
And you wouldn't be like that crazy. Yeah. If I said the Lakers right now were going to win the championship, maybe a couple months ago, you'd have looked at me crazy. But now it's like, with the right matchups, it's possible. The Golden State Warriors at the 6th seed could very easily win the championship. The Suns out of the 4th seed could very well win the championship. And I think that's the team. If I was going to match up anybody against this Bucks team, I know they played 2 years ago, but that's the one team that could flat out beat the Bucks if KD gets hot and this team does gel. Because we know one team's not, and that's Dallas. Dallas is falling apart, bro.
No. And you know what I realized watching Dallas? One of their biggest issues is like teams like Philadelphia, even teams like Milwaukee. Like if you when you're watching a game and one of the guards gets beaten off the dribble, they have they have help with their bigs, right? Like they go into the lane, there's a big there's a shot blocker. Last night it was like Luka would get by his man or Kyrie would get his man, and then you have Embiid just waiting for him right there. Dallas doesn't have that. There is you beat Kyrie, you beat Luka off the dribble, and you're at the bucket. And it's just, I think I look at this Mavericks team and it's so frustrating to watch. Like last night, they just fell apart in the 4th quarter. They've lost multiple games to the Charlotte, which Charlotte then beat Oklahoma City as well. Like Charlotte's just out there trying to ruin every Western team's chance at a playoff spot. I don't think, at this point, we have to ask the question, are the Mavericks even going to make the playoffs?
I have concerns about that. They're only, I think, a half game out right now, the last spot. And I don't really think the OKC Thunder want to, really make the playoffs. I think they wanted to be competitive, but not, actually make the playoffs. And they might, But this Mavs team has a lot of concerns defensively, right? Like, they losing Dorian Finney-Smith. They lost key components, Jalen Brunson last year, Spencer Dinwiddie at the deadline. But then you mentioned it, like having Christian Wood and JaVale McGee and Dwight Powell. It's just like it's ugly down there right now. Maxi Kleba and Davis Bertans, when they try to stretch things out, it just doesn't work for this Mavs team. They're going to have a lot of decisions to make in the offseason. There's been talks about Luka being dealt, about Kyrie just flat out leaving, and getting into fights with fans and stuff there at the game. So it looks like this thing, man, Luka's dealing with some personal stuff. So it's unfortunate to see because we know when this Mavs team is in there, they're legit, man, in the Western Conference. And, you know, obviously one of the teams that they would have to play in the play-in if they got there, Denver Nuggets sitting at the top, right? They're sitting at the top, and tonight they play the New Orleans Pelicans. So that'd be a good game. I feel like the Pelicans have been playing a lot better as of late. We're still waiting on the return of Zion. It looks like he's been cleared to practice in some capacity, so who knows if he's actually coming back from the playoffs. Do you think Denver is a strong one seed? We just talked about all these teams, and neither of us really mentioned Denver as like even an option.
Yeah, it's weird because like I don't know. Jamal Murray had the torn ACL, so there was a lot of questions there. Like obviously, you know, when you're missing one of your best players, the expectations go down. And I feel like until I see Denver, you know, make it out of the West, I'm always gonna pick, you know, the Warriors, the Clippers, the Lakers over them. I'm gonna pick the experienced teams. And you know, Denver's a great team. Like there's no denying that, you know, Jokic is phenomenal. They have a lot of talent around him, but I still think I'm going to lean, you know, if they played like the Suns in a Western Conference Finals matchup, or if they played the Warriors or something like that, I think I would still lean on those experienced teams over a Denver Nuggets team until they prove me wrong.
It's tough because we're probably going to have the league's MVP come from Denver. They're the best team in the West record-wise, but it doesn't give a feel of like a very strong team, even though we've seen this team go to the Western Conference Finals in previous years.
No.
So they're not really the underdog that they once were, but now as the favorite, it's like we're all waiting on their downfall. It feels like that with actually the top three seeds with the Nuggets, the Grizz, and the Kings. Like we're all kind of waiting on their downfall. But I feel like this Nuggets team is better than we're giving them credit for. Like, I think it's easy to forget what Jokic was doing in the playoffs by himself.
Yeah.
Let alone when he had the whole roster before Jamal Murray got hurt, before Michael Porter Jr. got hurt. Like, this team was a threat in the Western Conference. So I think with the addition of Aaron Gordon that they got at the deadline a couple years ago, it's like they're not that far away. And I think the record shows that they're a good team. It's just how much do we really believe him? And so with a 7-game series, I expect Jokic to be out there a lot more than he has. Even this whole season, he's played every game, but I expect the minutes to go up, the starters to be out there more. I like the Denver Nuggets. It just depends on who they play that first round, to be real.
So let's say like the Nuggets were playing the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals, right? Obviously, you know, Denver's 51-24, Golden State's 40-37. Who would be favored? Like, I honestly think like the Nuggets might be an underdog in that series, right? Or no?
It all depends on how it happens, right? The Warriors the Warriors go in for, you know, sweep some of these teams. You're like, oh yeah, the Warriors are back. But if they struggle on the road, that might be a series where you do give it to Denver, you know. And Denver, how do they manage playing the Lakers or the Timberwolves? How then they go manage and play the Suns or the Clippers? Like, it really depends on how things. That's how stacked this Western Conference is.
Yeah.
We're looking at the team they're playing tonight, the New Orleans Pelicans, and they were a top 3 team when Zion was playing. Imagine if he comes back and they make it out of the play-in. Like, it's going to be a scary thought. And with Zion, like, say he comes back over this last week or so of the season, right? We got 10 days left of the season. Say he comes back and he's able to help this Pelicans team in these last few games and get on the same page. Do you think this Pelicans team can upset somebody? Because we've seen them, Matt. We've seen this team in the playoffs, and they're a tough ass out, bro. Like, we've seen them. Can they beat one of these better teams?
I think like if Zion comes back healthy and they have a matchup against like Memphis or, you know, where are they sitting? I think, you know, they're like 9th right now.
Like 9-10 seed. They'd have to just try to get to the 8th seed.
Yeah, if they could just try to get to like the 8th seed or something like that, I think they have a real shot just because, like you said, you know, we've seen it in the past. It's funny because when I look at the Western Conference standings, it's almost like the 4, 5, 6 scares me more than the 1, 2, and 3. Like that's the thing. Like, you know, you got Phoenix at 4, you got the Clippers at 5, and Golden State at 6.
Yeah.
Like, that is so scary if you are a team out in the West, and especially like a top seed, like, you know, the Memphis or Sacramento. Like, you got all these teams that have all this experience that have been to the finals, won a finals. Like obviously Kawhi Leonard, a finals MVP, like led the Raptors. Like, I don't know. I'm so excited to see how this turns out though.
Yeah, I mean, the Pelicans are already kind of catching fire. They did a lot of their damage without Brandon Ingram for a good portion of the season. They just lost the other day, but they had a 5-game win streak going on themselves. And it's like when CJ was playing right, when Brandon Ingram, you saw him in Draymond getting into it.
I did.
This team's ready. Like
Yeah.
they ready for smoking. We've seen them in the playoffs have that same type of demeanor as the underdog. And so, when I look at the Nuggets, it's like if they get in a 1-8 matchup with the Nuggets, I don't know, man. I feel like any one of these teams coming in outside of the Thunder, any one of the play-in teams could upset the Nuggets, the Grizzlies, or the Kings. I like the Kings, and I like the fact that they just clinched. But I feel like one of these teams comes in there hungry, the Lakers, even like the T-Wolves.
Yeah.
Kind of feels like they got their back against the wall now, too. They go up against Memphis, the Kings, the Nuggets. Like, there's upset potential there. With the Kings, though, Matt, it's been a long time since the Kings have been in the playoffs, and they secured a spot in the playoffs last night. Yo, my feed on Instagram was going crazy because I live out here in Sacramento. All these, Sacramento fans, as much as they want to say they've been there from the start, they be going away when they lose. When the Kings lose, they go away, right? But all of them, I've been a fan since day one. I've never left. The Kings are my team. It's been forever. 2006 was a long-ass time ago, Matt.
It was a very long time ago. We were just talking about this graphic that we saw on ESPN. The last time the Kings were in the playoffs was 2006, and Apple had not put out the iPhone yet. Keegan Murray was 5 years old. High School Musical had just debuted on Disney Channel. Like, that is insane to think about. I can imagine, I don't really blame Kings fans, though, for like dipping for a while, because when I think back to that, I was 7 years old. I was 7 years old. So it has been a long, long time. Congratulations to Sacramento and the Kings. Not only just like clinching, but getting having a top 3 seed right now. Like, that's a crazy turnaround. And you're in Sacramento. It seems like the buzz and the atmosphere at the games are fantastic.
LTB, light the beam. It's real, bro. But the Kings, 2006, I had no kids. I got 3 boys already, and I have one of them that's 12. So I have 3 kids. I got married in that time. 2006, Justin was a different animal, bro. I was at the club. I was listening to T-Pain and Lil Wayne, bro. Like 2006, J-Hen was a lot different. But yeah, man, it's crazy. And the atmosphere out here has been rocking. So the one thing I can say for the Sacramento Kings is if they do get like a playoff matchup, is the crowd, Matt, is crazy, man. They got the cowbells out there. I went to a game against the Celtics. We talked about it the other day. Yeah. They were handing out cowbells. So the same Arco Arena atmosphere is going to be there in the playoffs. And this team has been waiting desperately for a playoff appearance. Shout out to Monty McNair, bro, has turned this organization around, dog. They went from not being able to hit in the draft to hitting every single pick. Yeah. Halliburton, Davion, Keegan Murray, Mike Brown, coach of the year hire. Like, shout out to Monty McNair, bro. All right, my man. Anything else before we get out of here, bro? It's been a good episode so far.
Yeah, I just want to quickly, rant about the Chicago Bulls because you guys beat us last night. It wasn't even close. There's just no heart on this. Like, if you can't show up for a game against the Los Angeles Lakers at home, I don't know what to tell you. At this point in time, there's a part of me that doesn't even want to make the playoffs. So hopefully there's some bit of change. Credit to Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is a Packers fan, even though he's from Chicago. That bothers me from the start. I always wanted to come to Chicago, but he absolutely dominated us last night. I don't know. I'm sure you saw Austin Reeves do the too small.
Yeah, a little too small. Yeah.
Which, is deserved considering Pat Bev and literally.
I mean, you got Pat Bev out there waving the finger. Too small to LeBron. Like, Pat Bev is there for Pat Bev and not the
wild.
Bulls.
He is absolutely wild.
I feel like that is his win. It's kind of like when he was in Minnesota and he was doing all the celebrating when they were in the play-in. Yeah, that's what it feels like right now with this Bulls team, bro. He's just out there. The minute they play the Lakers, his one goal is like, I'm going to make LeBron look bad.
Yeah.
And then sure shit, Austin Reeves is out there making him look bad. So all bark, no bite. Pat Bev, man. Shout out to you for playing a good game, though.
Yeah.
All right, y'all.
That's about it. Guys, make sure you do check out Champions Round. Go play Daily Dozen. Like Justin said, MLB season's here. There's a bunch of fun stuff around that. And
Yo,
of
Spicy
course,
Slips is going to be crazy. We're
dude,
going to be on an episode later today, and that's going to
yeah.
be fire doing
Oh
Spicy
my
Slips.
gosh. It is going to be, especially like the no runs. You know about the Nerfies and stuff like that, dude. Oh
we're
my
going to be all
god,
over that.
dude,
all
we're
over
gonna have so much fun.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
guys.
Does it for another episode of Halftime Habaneros. Peace out. We'll see you next time.